American culture has made tremendous strides in women empowerment in the last three generations. What do you think in your mother's generation was most influential as far as your own attitudes towards empowerment? And are men still lagging behind that revolution, in your opinion?
Yes.
Yes, full stop.
You know, it's so interesting. I was raised pretty traditionally, and my mom is a phenomenal woman, but my parents only needed one income, so we were more traditional at the house. I was raised. I have three younger brothers, and I think we started to see. I never grew up thinking girls have one role and boys have another, not consciously. That was never something consciously that I was aware of until later in my life. So I think we have made strides in the way that it's not necessarily right there in front of you, right? It's like when you walk out into the street every day, you're not thinking, oh, women don't have the right to take this role, or they're looked at differently. It's not. It's subtle. It's subtle. It's subconscious, and I think that's what we still have a long ways to go, is kind of working on that subconscious story. And that's why a story like Beta and entertainment is so important, because we plant the seeds of that. We start to tap into the subconscious, those unconscious changes that need to be made.
Nice.
Yeah, and then men, I think it's similar. I think for the most part it's just education. Like my brothers, most of the men I know in my life are phenomenal men that if they knew what they were doing, if they knew that it was hurting, if they knew, they wouldn't do it. They just
I would say in a similar fashion, I grew up in a family that was very supportive. They knew I had big dreams. They knew I wanted to leave home, but I also grew up in the South in a culture that was very, most of the people around me had no interest in, most of the women around me didn't really have an interest in doing more than staying in the home, which is completely fine. But it definitely led me to question if I was crazy. At one point, I remember applying in high school. I had to sit down with a guidance counselor and tell them what I wanted to do, what my next 3-year trajectory looked like, and where I was going. And when I said I wanted to go to LA and I was going to be an actor and study the film industry, they laughed at me and they said I had to put a real profession on that paperwork. And I was so confused, and in no way was that my parents. My parents always believed in me and have gotten me to where I am with their love and support. But yeah, it's kind of similar to what Carly's saying. Unconsciously, I was forced to question all these things about myself, or what was wrong with me for wanting to leave home and not wanting to have kids immediately out of college, or not wanting to hurry up and get married. And I think you can have both of those things, but culture and society is a little bit lagging in providing women the opportunity to see and to feel okay with that.
And that's the story of Beta.
It was beautiful. Two beautiful answers, by the way. God, you guys are sharp. Since the making of any film, series, or movie is a collaboration between the technical, the people on the set, and the leadership of a project, what did you learn about both that leadership as creators and letting go within the collaboration?
Every new project is a new learning lesson. Yeah. We were so fortunate to have such a strong, incredible team. We had almost all female department heads and crew during the series, during production and in post. And I think for me, as an A-type, neurotic, like OCD, learning to trust people and not to micromanage, and learning that also you can't do everything at 100% capacity. You have to let people take their roles, and if you're going to hire them and entrust that on them, you have to let them do it. And it only would serve me better as the actor, as the artist, or as the producer, to have more time to help delegate roles and let people shine and grow in their positions,
Especially talk about female leadership. there's a difference too. I find that a lot of my male friends don't have a problem like asking for help or like just being like, no, they're doing this, you do this, you know, you go over here. And I think women, like, it's like, do you need help? Are you okay? Like, is that too much for you? So I think there are a lot of challenges when you're at that budget level. Yeah.
Since you both have experience as actors and performers, what is an example from each of you when you felt a breakthrough in empowering your own career, and what did you learn as a person in that evolution?
Life, but my 20s were, you know, moving to Hollywood, facing all the challenges of being new and green and trying to learn, you know, that theatrical agent didn't mean theater, it meant film and TV. There's so many things. And I just remember sitting in an acting class with Warner Laughlin Studios was where I trained. And she said, they were so empowering there about taking control of your career and that you are your own business. And I just remember being so frustrated and being like, you mean I'm supposed to wait for these people to hire me from an audition, and an audition that I'm getting once every like week if I'm lucky, but maybe not that often. And I remember joining with a friend in class and being like, let's do this. And we didn't even know what let's do this meant, but we were like, we're going to make our own thing. And that was the first time, that must have been 2011, that I jumped in and made my first feature film, raised some money on Kickstarter, and just really dove into the fire with wearing all the hats and learned a lot of lessons about partnership and film and indie filmmaking. And it was crazy, but it was empowering. And after that experience, I was really lit the fire in me to keep going and know that I love acting and I want to keep studying acting, but it wasn't enough for me the sit and wait game for me it's not a good game. So
cool. Carly?
I think one of my big breakthroughs was actually coming, I started performing really young. So I was like a professional performer at 11 and was always used to kind of turning it on and feeling like, my work was never enough. It was never in the right place. There was always somewhere better to go. There was always like this, just kind of this engine that had to be performing all the time. And I think when I really started to feel empowered in my work and felt a shift was when I started to work with a coach that really helped me to just trust myself and trust my instincts and really just sit into my own way of telling stories, my accepting where I was at as a performer and just as an artist generally. And so the moment that I actually like took a breath and said, you can trust yourself as an artist and don't worry about pushing everything, you know, is hard. It started to find that in myself. That was that changed my life. That was the moment that officially, I think I went from actually feeling empowered, you know, whereas instead of like, that was a huge shift. Changed my actual work and changed how I went about doing work.
Finally, let's take turns outlining your rollout of Beta. Where can your audience reach you online and or various social media? Get the plug section.
So we're really pumped. We launched our trailer this past Monday. And you can find that on www.betatheseries.com. So it's been live since May 4th. And on August 1st, we will be premiering. We have a campaign event called Beta In. So hashtag Beta In will lead you to anything online. On Instagram, Beta the Series. On Facebook, Beta the Series as well. You can find all the information about the campaign, which I'll let Carly talk about a little bit.
We'll have a really cool event that's going to bring together leaders in entertainment and tech to talk about what we're talking about, which is the rise of beta culture. What is beta culture, which we find women generally tend to have, it tends to be a little bit more of their natural leadership style. But really, we're starting to find across the board a move from alpha culture into beta culture and what that means and how we create things and how we lead. So that'll be August 1st. And then it'll be followed directly by the online premiere of the entire web series So you can follow the campaign, get involved in the conversation, and come to the virtual event, hashtag beta in, alpha out, beta in. Whatever.
And if you subscribe on the website, which you can do right now, you'll get updates on when we go live with early bird tickets for that event. If you want to be a part of those panels and discussions, it'll be an awesome thing to be a part of, and then you'll have first access to the entire series. So we're excited.
This is Patrick McDonald for HollywoodChicago.com. Copyright 2020.